Show me a
the way I love yourself.
Good evening and welcome to episode 53 of Geeklife Live, your source for all the nerdy news you need to know. I'm your host, R-Wing Gamer and Track Slayer, KJ Fox McCloud, aka Kev. Joining me this week from the coziest of corners, the littlest of Nellies, the littlest Nelly. How you doing tonight, Ellen?
I'm good. I've got a brand new setup. I thought you called Ellen, like Ellen DeGeneres, and I was like, what a fucking stereotype,
I'm trying out new things. I'm sorry.
I like the Ellen. It's good. It's good.
Don't
typecast me though.
I know.
It's all good. I don't need glitter though. Yeah. Look at this is what's really important. It's not the initial glitter. Check it.
Nice.
It's supposed to be green, but it's really blue. But like we could pretend for a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's lighting. It's lighting balance.
Yeah. And in the green corner, first he's savage, then he's sweet. But we all think he's pretty neat. Savage Pat Kid is here. How's it going, bud?
It's going really, really well. Glad to be back on the show. This is gonna be super, super fun. We got lots of fun stuff to talk about. And man, those intros, that was clever. I like a back and forth rhyme.
Hey, look, Jake isn't here, but we've got a lot of talent on this team, so I think we're gonna make him proud. Yada yada yada. We're about 2 hours show. We talk about all the nerdy things you need to know, as I had said in the intro here. But first, guys, what are you guys doing to survive the whatever stage of the simulation this is? Now let's start with you.
I went on a somewhat manic hunt for new Kirby last night. I went to 3 different stores, but I want you to know that I found it. And that's all that matters. And I'm already through the first 3 worlds, and that's the thing that I'm doing with my life now. You see me playing it also tomorrow on Cozy Corner. We'll be playing new Kirby.
You're going full, you know what? Sorry.
I am going full mouth mode.
There you go.
On Kirby.
There you go.
It's
no
happening.
Shame. Boom.
Yes. It's actually, there's a secondary one that's even worse called auto swallow mode. Yeah.
What?
So my free time is currently auto swallow.
No, there's not. That can't be real.
Oh, wow.
Find out tomorrow on Cozy Corner if I'm full of shit or if Kirby's really like that.
All right.
You got it.
Yeah. God, I had some freaking the sheets Kirby in the streets joke, but anyway, Sav, how are you holding up?
I mean, immediately right now I'm regretting that we don't have a ticker of how many Kirby full mouth jokes we're going to have during this show, because it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot. It's like, I'm not saying I know who wrote this show or whatever, but like, it's gonna be a lot. Other than that, doing pretty good. I'm starting to get into I feel like I'm breaking out of a bit of a rut, and I'm starting to jump into a bunch of new games all at the same time. Nice. Started playing Guardians of the Galaxy. Finally, it's been great. Very, very funny. Been doing a lot of
great
catching up on Pokemon stuff, and just kind of finally catching up. Oh, and Elden Ring. Like, I'm finally jumping on all the bandwagons. It's been a hot minute.
All right. Yeah, no, that's definitely a game that threw me off the bandwagon. I'm trying to get back on, but we'll see. Like you, I've kind of picked up the slack on some other games that I've sort of neglected. But yeah. Anyways, we've got a great show planned for y'all. But first, Seth, hit us with that rundown.
Okay. Let's see. Starting with our first headline, we were going to have, let's see. I lost my place in my notes. I'm so bad at this.
Bright green.
The bright green ones, yeah. Okay, first up, we got a South by Southwest breakdown, talking about the biggest tech and music fest to hit this side of the country and takes up a lot of people's time and money. We went, so you didn't have to. And we'll be going all through that kind of stuff, including the South by Southwest Gaming Awards, not to be confused with the 2021 Gaming Awards, because South by has their own opinions on things. Let's see, and with all the nerdy news we're going to start with, we got Michael Morbius, the latest reasons why Jamie Lee Curtis is also cooler than your own mom, probably cooler than mine too. Go figure.
Cool mom.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I feel like all her characters, she's like, well, especially now, she gives off the cool mom vibes, right? Like,
I think
she
it's the
kills
haircut.
serial killers, she does drugs, right? Like,
It's gotta be the haircut.
She's got range.
She's had that power mom haircut since 1987, and now it's just like pure silver and white, and it's just like choice.
Yeah, exactly. All right then. So we've got some headlines for you guys. There's lots been going on. We haven't been here in a couple weeks, but that doesn't mean the news stops. So, Sav, I think you've got something about Morbius, something about the director explaining some confusion, multiverse.
Okay, let's get the ball rolling on this. For our first headline, we are talking about Morbius. AKA Morbius the Living Vampire, the newest addition to the Sony Spider-Verse. It has not performed as well as what a lot of people were thinking, how people were hoping it would perform at the box office. I honestly don't know what people were thinking, how this is going to perform. It's kind of a bit of a wild card in that regard. Anywho, in lieu of its less than optimal numbers upon its opening into the box office, Morbius's director decided to kind of maybe address some of how Morbius may fit into the larger Spider-Verse as a whole, but either on the Sony side, the MCU side, or both, as we're very quickly and rapidly turning to. So for everyone catching up, I have admittedly not seen the most recent Venom movie, but I have caught all the way up on Spider-Man, but I was able to fill in all the blanks at the very least. Espinosa was clarifying that this is the same Michael Morbius that we were hinted at and or alluded to and or made a cameo in Spider-Man Homecoming, and quote saying, "At the end of Venom, let there be carnage in Spider-Man No Way Home, and in No Way Home itself, it is clearly established that it is possible for characters to transfer from one multiverse to another, or from one franchise to piggyback onto another more successful one." Anywho. The events of No Way Home had no effect of transferring Venom and Vulture, maybe others, back and forth between the MCU and the Venom universe. Espinosa addresses whether or not this universe has a Spider-Man, and his answer is yes, it does. So we do have a confirmed Spider-Man character in the Morbius verse, if it is his own verse at this point, who knows? And very coyly, Espinosa has responded to which actor plays him. Well, it is my understanding, quote, that audiences will discover the answer very soon. Obviously, a very popular theory right now is that this is leading into a possible third Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie, maybe a fourth Tobey Maguire movie, because Sam Raimi likes making really creepy monster shit. Who really knows? But I guess posing the question to you guys, do you think this is going to lead into a continuation of a franchise of a previous Spider-Man?
Well, I, for one, am not sure, because Andrew Garfield has come out and expressed that he has Spider-Man coming out anytime soon. But we've heard this before, so...
Yeah, we all know Andrew Garfield's a big fat liar.
Emma Stone, his ex-girlfriend, after No Way Home, literally just tweeted that he is a lying piece of shit, and that's it.
Oh, man. Wow.
It's true.
So he's good at keeping secrets. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's more likely Andrew Garfield than it is any of the other Spider-Mans that we have, just because of what we've heard from them, right? Tom Holland has already said that that he has already filmed the last of his Spider-Man movies. And he's talked about wanting to take a big break from acting after this and go and start a family. He and Zendaya recently a whole ass house together to do that near his family in England. And Andrew Garfield has said that he has a lot of interest and is potentially in talks with filming more Spider-Man content. So I think it makes the most sense. People really, really want it, and he also is probably the most in a position to do that right now.
There are also a lot of rumored conversations going around with Emma Stone revisiting talks with Sony about potentially playing Gwen Stacy again, and she would be, quote, very interested in bringing Spider-Gwen to the Spider-Verse, which I would 110% be behind.
I don't know if I can see it. I don't know if I can see Emma Stone as Spider-Gwen. I think those could be two different conversations, and that she has learned from her super sneaky boyfriend.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since if he ends up being the Spider-Man in the Morbius verse to come, but who knows?
That's true. That's very true.
Absolutely.
Got a blast from the past, or is it the future? Who knows? A Back to the Future icon is making a return, coming soon from the past. The DeLorean. Let's go with that. It's being remade, guys, and its original manufacturing hometown of San Antonio. Completely electric because, the future is now. And current DeLoreans only average about 50 to 60K in perfect condition. Not super expensive, for the lack of better. I know that sounds like a lot, but given this car market, it's kind of on the low end, especially for a sort of nostalgic collector's item like that. But what do you think? What do you guys think is a reasonable price for a fully electric luxury DeLorean? A time travel time machine not included.
I mean, if we're paying, I guess it depends on the package that you're getting. If we're going for the full time travel package, like I could see that. At least that sounds more like a 75K car to me.
You put $3,000 down, you lease up 36 months, 10,000 miles a year. It's probably. I think this is weird.
I think it's also the electrical vehicle market is such a weird place right now, given the fact that Elon Musk is kind of just like vomiting all over it. Just kind of like he's very much like licking everything, and now it's his. Especially since I think it's the new Tesla Model X's are starting to debut like the old school Mandalorian like butterfly doors. Like so, I think they're trying to cut the head off of any potential successful revitalization of the DeLorean. I'm gonna interchangeably keep saying DeLorean and Mandalorian the entire show because that's how my brain's been saying a lot of both of them recently. Anyway, but I think he's sort of tried to cut the head off that hybrid before it has a chance to grow more. He being Musk.
Yeah, it's possible. What about you, Nelly? Are you excited for this, or are you just like whatever? More. Let it die, right?
I don't know. So the reason, and we were looking at this up earlier because we were talking about it, like the reason that the DeLorean is what it is for Back to the Future is because it was a really shitty car and they like broke down a bunch and they just like discontinued manufacturing and they were like, yeah, it's just really, really cheap to license to put into a movie. So I don't have like the most faith that all of a sudden they're going to come back and that company is going to be really, really good at fully electric vehicles. Like, I don't know. I don't really trust it. I think that car is going to get used, especially.
Yeah.
Do you know how this can charge an electric vehicle? It's not a lot. Like, not a lot at all. Yeah.
No, it's not. That's true. What you'll pay in the actual retail or sticker price, you'll make up for certainly in a lack of gas you'll have to pay.
Yeah. I work in a building for autonomous robotics, and there's only 2 electric vehicle charging parking spaces in our garage. Like, if you were going to have a place where people would own that car to do it, it would be there. Like, that would be it. It's us and Trader Joe's.
Yeah. True enough. Yeah.
I think we're good.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so I guess speaking of DeLoreans and speaking of Back to the Future, Christopher Lloyd, everybody's favorite live-action psychotics endearing doctor. On Friday, the Hollywood Reporter confirmed that Back to the Future and Star Trek 3 Searcher Spock's Christopher Lloyd will be joining Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Will there be a DeLorean? Who knows? But that is currently filming right now in Southern California. The report describes it as a quote-unquote guest star role, and I guess in the world of George Lucas, that could mean a really big part in one episode, and we learn to love and care about him, and then it doesn't matter anymore after that episode. Or he could have a smaller recurring character, something along the lines of maybe Fennec Shand. Who knows? This is all speculation at this point. Let's see. Christopher Lloyd is quoted as saying I think maybe if Rick and Morty are out there in space somewhere and accidentally Doc and Marty, they could actually somehow meet, because of course he would. I think Christopher Lloyd has just reached that point of like fantastical character acting where he's just kind of like, you know what? If I could just be a little crazy and it's gonna be cool. I mean, this is Uncle Fester. This was Doc. This is like now potentially like some kooky Star Wars character. I'm excited for this. Who do y'all think he would like? Who could you see Christopher Lloyd being in the Star Wars universe?
Man. Honestly, I have no idea. Like, I'm just trying to think of like quirky, mad genius types. I mean, he's really been kind of pigeonholed in that role, right? Like, I don't see him playing anything else besides that. So I'm trying to think of someone in the Star Wars universe who fits that other than Jar Jar Binks.
He was also the creepy hobo murderer in the live-action Dennis the Menace movie with Walter Matthau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a weird movie.
That's a really weird movie. And he was also the cartoon murderer in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So
he was pretty good at that.
See, that is true. He was great. Yeah. Terrifying. He made our top Zen. I think he was like top 5 almost in that creepy.
He was like 3 or 4 to be honest.
Yeah.
He could easily. Yeah, he could. I could think it would be really fun to be like just really whacked out maybe former Imperial intelligence officer who really likes torturing people, but his idea of torturing people is putting too much salt in their food or something just really inane. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess mixed feelings on whether I think he's gonna end up. I'm shaken. If y'all get motion sickness, don't sue me. It's not my bad. It's just the way that I live my life. I have mixed emotions on whether I think he's gonna end up as a small character or a big character, but I'm leaning towards they're telling us he's just a guest star role that's a minor thing, and he's gonna end up being huge, right? Because the first 2 seasons of Mando had their own kind of surprise roles from really these same level of celebrities coming in. Mm-hmm. But they were surprises. Yeah, we didn't get the warning ahead of time to let us be prepared for that. So I'm a little bit confused about this. I don't know if this is because Mando season 2's numbers weren't quite as good and they're trying to make sure that people come in and are drawn to it. But I find it weird that they're honestly even letting us know that Christopher Lloyd is going to be in season 3 at all. It's just such a sidestep from what they've done in the past.
I think they hit the nail on the head. I think they're trying to sort of buff up the cast a little bit to have more of a draw, which, for me, I mean, I'm surprised that that's the case because season 2, in my opinion, was the best season, which doesn't really happen for most shows, especially newer shows like that. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think they're just trying to like I said, beef up that cast a little bit. It's all a marketing ploy, which we'll cover into later. Anyways, Kirby goes full mouth mode in Target parking lots all across America. Cozy Corner expert Lloyd, tell us what's going on there with Curbs.
I am so excited about this, and I'm also going to let y'all know. So Kirby and the Forgotten Land was released this weekend, starting on Friday. It sold out in so many places across the country. So GameStop was actually only doing for the first weekend pre-order sales. At the end of today, if you haven't gone and gotten a copy of Kirby and Forgotten Land from pre-order, they will start selling it. But because of the high amount of pre-orders they had sellouts on them. Nobody else was doing them. So Kirby was also sold in a couple of other places. I think it was Best Buy. Walmarts were sold out in a bunch of locations. I was checking and looking, in my hunt to do it. And then, of course, also Target. So various Target retail stores across North America are currently and reportedly until the 10th of April will be decorated with the iconic, kind of basically now iconic Kirby full mouth mode around the red balls that are in front, which is also a Pokestop in most cases, in case y'all didn't know.
That's very true.
In fact, there are 2 modes right now, one that is Kirby smiling and one that is him actively inhaling, which I think is super adorable. Target has done this before with Mario and Luigi, and I highly recommend Googling those images because they don't make any sense. There is zero reason for Mario and Luigi to have been wrapped around the red balls. But with the Kirby one, I'm okay, I get it. I see what you're doing.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Target has been reportedly, through some internal dialogues, told to trash them on April 10th. But I'm already seeing across the cute collectors across the internet that people are clamoring to get a hold of these. That they're already planning on dumpster diving. Wow. I saw one lady say that she totally did not try to bribe a Target employee to get a hold of them.
I was gonna say, I would probably just grand larceny right there,
Yeah. The way that I absolutely would if we had one of these in our city, like I would totally steal one. It would be gone. It would be game over. But I guess like are these so like this is not an inexpensive thing to do, right? Like do you think that this works for the promotion of Kirby? Like would knowing this help you remember that you should be going to your local Target to be getting one of these? Like does this even seem remotely worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, they don't seem expensive. Like they're just little, you know, pillow covers, right? Like over.
I mean, basically, yeah.
Yeah, and that being said,
printed elastic,
with full mouth mode, I fully expect some car covers coming out soon because I
want a Kirby car so bad.
Heard it here, folks. Heard it here first.
Heard it here. So if it happens, just saying. Yeah. What about you, Sav? Would this stop you and bring you into a Target?
Actually, for me personally, I think it would actually do the opposite. Only because, Target. I feel like Target a lot recently has been kind of put themselves in the middle of this like sort of confrontational hype drop culture. Like you saw it with like you saw with all the TCGs that they used to run emphasis on used to, and why they don't carry like Pokemon cards anymore. To like this, the Sanrio Animal Crossing cards that came out, Nelly, what was that, like 2 years ago? And they
that was early last year, and it was a huge debacle. Like it burned a lot of people out of the Animal Crossing fandom because of the way that Target handled it.
With that being said, what I think they might be doing is, or it wouldn't surprise me, I suppose, if there was perhaps a motivation to like build all this hype around having Kirby merchandise, and then suddenly, we're all out of it again. I think they're kind of recreating that sort of dialogue because it's, we're having a conversation about it. So I guess it's an effective advertising method, and that means it doesn't matter about what they're actually selling. It matters that we're talking about Target now because another thing they were advertising is sold out. That's what I think. That's what it strikes me as, and I'm just like, I try to stay away from deliberate capital drives like that.
I think it's also interesting
failed miserably,
this is one of the things that has to be experienced in person. And right now, and we'll touch on this so much later, y'all. So much later, we're going to touch on this. But like, we're seeing people return back to in-person events, and for a lot of stores, shopping is one of them because the overhead on this is much less than doing in-store pickups. So I think that they're trying to draw people in because make more money if you come in and you pick up an item yourself. So.
That's true. Especially Target, they have a way of getting you lost in the store.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I never knew. I guess we need one of these and one of these, and
it's like
$200. I came here for duct tape.
No lie, we found a copy of Kirby, and then we all walked out with like snacks and like extra sleeping clothes, and
they're pumping
like
the same thing that they pump into casinos through the Target vents. I'm convinced
it's a high O2 concentration.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be.
We're being gassed.
It's true.
We are. Oh man, not cool. Not cool. Target. Anyway, someone who is cooler than your mom, Jamie Lee Curtis. Curtis's daughter Ruby is having a cosplay wedding in May. Damn. Jamie Lee Curtis stopped by Curtis. Yeah, we're on that relationship basis, by the way. I call her by her last name. Jamie Lee Curtis stopped by Jimmy Kimmel Live to share how she's planning on making her day even more special. Only to be officiating her daughter's wedding, but that she'll be doing it while wearing cosplay of World of Warcraft Jaina Proudmoore. It's a game, I don't know. She's an admiral, Curtis said when explaining that her daughter and fiancé, Cynthia, chose the costume for her. She also shared that the costume was ordered from Russia, which is currently at war with Ukraine. So yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis is officiating her gay daughter's wedding in cosplay. What character would you guys have officiate your wedding? If you chose to get be wed? Get married? There you go. That works. Who's doing it?
10 out of 10. 100%. Totally would do it, except it would be a Pokemon themed wedding. 1,000%.
Understood. Yeah. Disappointed otherwise. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. There will be like a water side and a fire side and a grass side. I'm gonna make everyone come up as their starters. It's gonna be great.
That'd be cool.
Right?
Yeah, that would be that. It would be really that. I mean, it's an easy one. You know what? I mean, It's Pokemon. Like, you got 800 plus choices of character inspiration to work with. Come on.
And picking your starter is so much cooler than picking a side of the wedding. Like, do you ever go to a wedding and some person's side is empty and, like, you feel bad? That's me. I'm going to be that person. I have a very small, intimate circle. I want less people on less sides.
Yeah. Bride and groom is so 2008. We need fire, water, grass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Man, imagine trying to put that together as a wedding planner. That definitely boosts your resume for sure. Yeah, exactly.
If I was that wedding planner, like if someone came to me to plan like a Pokemon matrimonial event, like I would be like, my time has come.
Yeah.
This
is what I've been waiting for.
This is the peak of my life now. I don't know
all those skills I've cultivated from professional experience to professional experience.
I've been building up to this, right? That's not the end of our stories. Our top story comes from South by Southwest, y'all. And giving us the deets on that are our local Austintonians here. Austinites? I don't know. What do we call you guys?
Austinites.
Austinites. I like that better.
We were still going to let you have it.
Okay. Nelly, what's going down in the SXSW? No one calls it that. I just wanted to be the one who,
You did though, and you're not known. So South by is back for its first year in person since really the beginning of COVID. So if you'll remember kind of the timeline of COVID, rounding out 2 years right now since the shutdown, South by was the first major thing that got affected in Austin. It's a really, really huge deal. Austin is majorly impacted by the financial resources that get poured into South by. Last year, they did a little bit of a digital thing, which kind of makes sense if you know like the history. It used to be 100% free. Then it was a free week. Then free week became Tech Week, and now Tech Week is honestly like most of Austin. It has returned, which is really, really great. It pours a ton of money into local artists and musicians. There's still a ton of free, super, super cool things popping up, but also a huge influx of major tech companies have come to Austin and to Texas since the beginning of COVID because it's much lower overheads than places like Silicon Valley.
State Texas.
Yeah, I mean, it's super cheap to be here. Like, the second tech wave is coming. And it's like for me, it very much like felt like kind of like the end of the pandemic, which feels really gross to say, to be honest. But everything in Austin felt exactly like everybody was out and about. They were going to events. They were talking about the next thing. Like, things were super crowded inside. There were also a lot more outdoor, which is really, really cool. And of course, lots of tech people came and showed off a bunch of stuff. I got to go to a robotics show for drones. I got to see like latest drone technology, and also thing that I'm told is different from a helicopter, the way that it flies, but it's basically a giant manned drone. Like, you can fly inside of it, but somebody else can also fly you. Discord chat, you've seen it, we've talked about it. It's super, super cool. And of course, in the light of drones, there's a ton of Austin right now. One of the big which was cool in a lot of ways, but also I heard a bunch of local Austinites who, like, Austin is a major city. So when you look at the terrifying things happening around the world, a lot of people had no idea that, right? Like, if you were watching South by News, you knew that there was going to be a drone show.
Is this a drone strike or a publicity stunt? This is a serious question we had to ask ourselves in Austin that night.
Drone strike or drone show? Genuine concern. And that was just really, really weird. It was super fucking weird. Yeah. Wow. It felt a little bit tone deaf to like what was going on, because I don't think they publicized it as much as they should, which is crazy, because if you watch literally anything, Paramount is talked about nonstop because of how much they've paid for advertisement. And I was like, y'all couldn't tell us more about the drone show?
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's a weird one to hide in your back pocket right now, for sure.
Yeah. That definitely, I thought it was interesting. You like that. I guess it just shows the freaking budget on the on this show. Which, watch first episode, by the way, not bad. But as far as I heard there was a little bit of video game news that came out of there, Sev. There were some winners of some awards.
Yes. Okay. So, South by Southwest is full of people with very strong personalities and very strong opinions, especially in the tech community. And following in line with that, South by Southwest has its own version of the gaming awards. And so, of course, we have the top categories here, and who won, who almost won, who should have won, and everything kind of underneath that. So I guess starting off big with the one I guess everybody wants to know and wants to care about, and personally a choice that kind of surprised me. South by Southwest Gaming Awards of 2022 announced that their choice for Video Game of the Year was Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker, the most recent expansion to grace the Final Fantasy MMO series. Also winning Best Excellence in Original Score and Excellence in Narrative, which honestly, given some of the sweeps and some of the huge numbers of nominations we saw from titles coming from the 2021 Gaming Awards, it was a real that seemed to me like kind of a left field pick. Like when you I feel like a lot of game conversations that have been having about like innovations in games, innovations in storytelling, character development, technological ability. Final Fantasy XIV hasn't come up, at least not in any of the conversations that I've been a part of or listening to. So I thought that was a really, really interesting pick for Game of the Year. Original score, 100%. The game has some amazing music to it. Excellence in narrative, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess. I can only imagine that maybe that just isn't a terribly large category at this point. Yeah, I said it, and some people might be mad about that. I played Final Fantasy.
Go ahead.
I played Final Fantasy at the beginning of the pandemic. It was one of those things where I'm like, I don't have a job right now, and I need something to like completely distract myself from the world around me. And Final Fantasy XIV was that thing. It was a fun MMO. The community is really great, and possibly the least toxic MMO community I've ever been a part of, which is super neat to say.
Refreshing.
But like outside, it felt very much like a JRPG, and frankly, there's certain things about most JRPGs that, like, to me, don't necessarily lend themselves to Game of the Year level standards of quality. But you know, that was their choice.
What a niche! Like, I mean, I guess it's not niche, but it's not. Expansions don't generally win Game Awards.
Yeah, it's an expansion, and it is now the fourth expansion to come out for it. Since the game's release, and it was just like that's it, to me. I guess that's the weirdest part is like they gave an expansion title. Right. To Game of the Year. And I guess part of the reason why I'm so shocked is that, like, when you go through some of the other nominees, it's actually a really stacked deck. Other nominees that were included were It Takes Two, which took Game of the Year for 2021 Gaming Awards, and which is being already hailed as one of the best multiplayer experiences to come out in the past several years. Yeah. Psychonauts 2 was also nominated, which was fan-fucking-tastic. I played the original on the original Xbox console, and to see that brought back with such, like, it was still a fun game to play, it was still an interesting game to play, and it paid every ounce of respect and homage to its original predecessor that I feel like it should have. We've also got Resident Evil Village, which lit the internet, of course, aflame with very confused sexual fantasies about Lady Dimitrescu. Who knows? We made so many TikToks about "quote unquote" "step on me, vampire lady." Like, come on, we've all seen them in the real. But last but definitely not least, also nominated was the newest installment in the Ratchet and Clank franchise, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, for the PS5. I played a little bit of that one actually on my friend's PlayStation because I'm not cool enough to have my own. But it is a remarkable game. The Ratchet and Clank series is really not talked about enough in terms of like its amazing quality storytelling. And hot damn, if there was ever a game to like really show and roll out what the PS5 was capable of technologically and graphically, that game hit every damn mark. And I'm personally really, really surprised that it didn't take that Game of the Year title. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I'm stumped on this because it sounds like there was just one person who was choosing the winners, and they were just really into Final Fantasy and
I
Walker.
mean,
I mean, and I'm not doubting it's a bad. I'm not doubting it's a great game, but my God, these are nominees, and there's a lot of great games that haven't made the list. One of them you were probably watching if you were watching us Raid Dot Stream and Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, that wasn't nominated. For Forza Horizon 5 isn't on here. Yeah, there's a lot that I don't have time to go through all that, but yeah, I'm shocked that it not only game of the year, but narrative. I could give it a score, original score. Yeah, Final Fantasy's always got some bops. But it wasn't the only game that dominated, right? Like
it
there,
wasn't.
it didn't
It
win.
was
It didn't win
not.
everything.
It did not. In fact,
Okay.
those were some of the only things that it won.
Okay.
Anyway, but no, one of the games also nominated for Game of the Year to kind of really take home a few things with it was Resident Evil Village, which honestly, this game could have won all the awards, and I wouldn't have been surprised given its reception upon its release and just its general quality-based experience. One of the things that it did win, which I'm actually I don't think anyone even held close to holding a candle to, was excellent audio design. One of my favorite things about the Resident Evil franchise from start to finish, dating back to the very first game, is how immersive a lot of the sound design was. Like, some of the best scares were literally just the things that you heard, not even the things that you saw. So it was really exciting to see it win that title. Also winning VR Game of the Year. Which is great to see that not only are we seeing like VR games starting to be treated a lot more seriously to the point where they're all getting like their own nominations and category titles in award shows like this, but that huge franchises like Resident Evil are like really starting to throw their money in with that. Also nominated for a slew of awards, but unfortunately not taking home very many. Deathloop, another PlayStation exclusive developed by Bethesda, which lends itself. Anyways, it was nominated for excellent in animation and art and visual achievement and excellence in game design. I personally think it could easily have won both of these categories, but it unfortunately lost those to Forza Horizon 5 because, yes, they're still making Forza games, and yes, they're just, I guess, really pretty or something. And Inscription, a super fun indie game by Devolver Studios, which we'll talk about maybe later here once we start talking about some of the indie titles. But unfortunately, it didn't manage to take anything home, even though it was nominated. It had the most nominations at the 2021 Gaming Awards. It unfortunately did not get that much love at South by Southwest this year.
Okay. All right. Well, good to see they didn't win everything. It seems like Resident Evil's awards were very appropriate. But yeah, you said indie games. Nelly, I'm sure you've got some info on what went down in the indie games portion of the game awards for South by.
I want to make one prior statement though. I was gonna say one thing, which is that Square Enix, of course, the ones who produce Final Fantasy, is the only one of these production companies who's based out of Austin. I'm not saying the two things are connected. I'm just saying
we got
that
the
they happen to
Austinites here.
exist.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
But Indie Game of the Year was one. I'll admit, South by doesn't have a lot of love. These like announcements that came out were from like Sims had their own panel. Halo, of course, had a lot going on because of the other production they're doing. So the Indie Game of the Year was something that didn't even show up on our top indie games of the year that we, the Nerd Herd, voted on. I don't know. Obviously, just get me in some connections. Because it won by Carrots. And well, I will admit that I think this is a really beautiful game. I think it has beautiful visuals. I think it's a really, really great story. I don't think it was very innovative, especially when you look at the other things on that list. Chicory, A Colorful Tale was nominated. Inscription, Death's Door, Unpacking, which you guys absolutely know I love. If you're friends with me on Discord, you've seen me playing it like nonstop since we talked about it. And even Valheim, which I think is a bit of like game, cozy vibes. So that was really, really interesting to me. It's a good game, but it wasn't as expect out of a South by pick. But Unpacking got a huge amount on the side of innovation. Matthew, the producer for the game, kind of not necessarily the writer, but a huge push behind the storyline, won the cultural innovation. Play through the whole storyline, you learn the history of the items, and that was really, really neat. Other nominees were, of course, Strange, story. I think it wasn't as polished, which is probably why it didn't take that home. Lost Words Beyond the Page is a really different way to look at gameplay, so that was really, really neat. Excellence in multiplayer, basically right, is It Takes Two, coming from EA and Hazelight. EA is another office that's based out of Austin. I'm just saying. Just saying. But yeah, multiplayer I think also took a huge hit last year, to be honest. In COVID, I think they were games that weren't being heavily pushed. So the nominees here are a little bit more kind of what you expect. Back 4 Blood, Halo Infinite, Riders Republic, and Valheim, of course. Valheim being probably closest to the like indie franchises there, which is cool. The excellence in technical achievement, which I absolutely true given the history of the platform, is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I have not gotten to play much of this, but I've watched quite a few playthroughs, and I can definitely see achievement. It's just really, really cool. Forza is on technical achievement, which, you know, cool that they got nominated. I guess good for them. I think they're wrong.
I think they had a lot of good accessibility features, and I think that's why they're on here.
Oh, that's a good note. That's a really, really accessibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That makes sense in that lens. Yeah.
That's
I'll stop talking mess.
Yeah, like they got a lot of accessibility options in the settings. It's almost overwhelming. Yeah.
That's actually really, really awesome to hear, because I know that is a huge conversation in gaming, and it actually wasn't under. Like, there's a bunch, if you go to South by's website, you can still find a bunch of the videos if you're really interested in more of the the technical side. You can find the videos, and accessibility was a huge trend. So that's really, really cool to hear. So yeah, I mean, that basically wraps up the gaming awards, which I think they did it. Talked a bit about the history of South by and their technical influence, but I see South by continuing to be a huge lead in tech focus and tech industry because of the way that itself is growing. So I'm excited.
That's true. Especially now, you're going to see that even more. So like you were just saying, like, you know, Silicon Valley is essentially moving to Austin.
Yeah.
So housing market prices currently reflect that.
Yeah. I've heard. I guess that's it from South by, right, guys? Anything else? Any last words on the video games front, or anything else that we missed?
This is not video game related, but one of the coolest things, Cheeto hand pop up. You went in and they gave Cheetos to you with Cheeto fingers, and they were like, touching. Just kidding, it's a hands-free tech exhibit. Everything was hands-free. It was like showcasing feature of hands-free. Had like virtual car drives, like interacting with like your coffee maker and stuff, but like not getting Cheeto hands.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. It's like a 3-hour line out the entire week. Nuts.
There were some of my favorite parts about South by Southwest, because like I've lived in Austin for several hot minutes, and what this year kind of reminded me, like, one of my favorite things about South by is all like the stuff that like isn't really announced. They're just kind of like the little things that are snuck in there. Like one of the things that I saw was actually, I was part of an Amazon promo. It was they were doing a promotion for the new season of The Boys that's rolling out, and they had like this little pop-up where they were giving out what do they call them, Little Hero adventure meals that were like these stylized, like Happy Meal-esque little like lunch boxes for kids that were being sold by Vought International as like
that's cute,
as like a superhero promo, also being a promo for The Boys, and just all those like random things that South by attracts as well. Like South by is a huge conversation for a lot of tech, media, and music people, obviously. but for like a local audience, it's a very interesting experience in people and people watching. And there are just so many fascinating things to see. I think my personal favorite is the completely topless Scottish brass band that was walking up and down the street that I work on. Because St. Patrick's Day was also lumped into South by this year. That was a fun experience as well.
That was a drinking experience, is what it was.
For a lot of people, yes. Anyway, but I personally will be very happy that I don't have to deal with it for another 351 days. So,
well, that's good. I'm sure there's as the Austinites, I'm sure you guys have seen enough or seen plenty of South Bys, whereas the other uninitiated. The other uninitiated, as myself and some others that I've known who are like, oh, I got to get down to South by, and I'm like, okay, yeah. Well, that'll wrap it up for the first half of the show, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we've got a deep dive into, you guessed it, marketing. Stick around, marketing and advertising students. We're going to dive deep and maybe you'll learn something. Then we're wrapping things up with our top Zen marketing ag fails just to, be appropriate. So stick around. We've got more show coming for you in 5. Be right back.
And stick around for Scribbler. We're going to play a game.
Beautiful mustache. Comrade Doppel.